Welcome to Lessons from a High School Dropout. My name is Troy Thomas Joseph Fitch, and I'm so excited that you're here with me today. Today is a big day. It's a big day. But before we begin talking about what we're going to talk about today, I want to just kind of thank everybody for taking time to listen and share reviews and thoughts on last week's episode. Last week's episode we were discussing living within the quantum world, right? Living within the quantum world. Neat subject. If you haven't heard it, haven't checked it out, go back and check it out. You can see it on our YouTube channel, or you can see it on our podcast, and I've got a list of great podcast platforms that are hosting us right now, and it's growing. We've got Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breakers, Spotify. Where's the list here? We got Public Radio, Overcast, Pocket Cast. There's so many. I even found it on an Arabic channel. I don't know how I found it. I was just Googling, my podcast, and just Google and seeing what comes up. And I was very excited to find that about a week ago. So we've been out for 3 weeks. I think going on this week, it's going to be our third full week out there in the ethers, sharing this mission from Lessons from a High School Dropout. And yes, I am a 17-year-old high school dropout from 1982, and I thank you for taking time to listen to this message. Today's message is titled, Awakening a Giant from Within. I believe each of us have a special gift in each of us, and that gift can awaken a giant to fulfill our dreams and our visions as we all have inside of us. You've heard me say that in my mission, I plan to be the Johnny Cash of Lessons from a High School Dropout inside our jails and prisons. 90% of our population in our jails and prisons is a dropout. So there's been some disconnect in our society on those who struggle in school, who then turned to the streets like I did as a young 17-year-old high school dropout and got in a little bit of trouble. I quickly turned around. I'm just giving you a short story here of my life. Quickly turned around and made a big change and got back on track and focused on that dream, that vision, and that goal of becoming a great professional salesperson. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and open up today's message. We're going to put a little background music to this because I want to just kind of give you a new experience. So here we go. Over 246 years ago, there was a revolution, an American Revolution, an event that literally changed the course of history. An event that was led by a group of unsatisfied people who were tired of being told what they could do and when they could do it. People who were fed up with their lack of personal choice and lack of personal freedoms. People were fed up with their lives being controlled by others, fed up with being oppressed, fed up with being manipulated, and finally they said, enough, I've had it, I'm not going to live like this anymore. Our ancestors were people who took full responsibility for what happened to them. It was that spirit that ignited a country and formed what is now a giant in the free world. I have a question for you. Where is that spirit today? It's time for another revolution. Let me explain one of the laws of the universe. It's called the law of use. It simply says, what you don't use, you lose. Lack of use causes loss. Ambition unused declines. Faith unused decreases. If you don't use your skills, you lose your skills. If you don't use your freedom, you lose your freedom. Freedom does not come automatically. It's not obtained and then handed down to us as an inheritance. It must be achieved each day. At the turn of the 19th century, in the year 1900, less than 10% of the people worked for someone else or the government. over 90% of us were self-employed, and we're an independent people. By 1980, only 80 years later, over 90% of us worked for other people or the government, and less than 10% of us were self-employed. We changed from an independent people to a dependent people. We slowly shifted to a people who took full responsibility for everything that happened to them, to a people who became talented at the art of blaming others for their problems. Our giant has fallen asleep. Our forefathers didn't say, "Who is going to take care of me?" They simply said, "All I ask is for the opportunity to be able to take care of myself and my family." Today we elect officials who quote unquote take care of us. We cry out against anyone who dares to ask us to bring more value to the workplace. We do everything we can to spread around the suffering of our society, and yet no one is willing to step up and be a part of the solution. We've slowly changed from a society that compensates based on value to a society that compensates based on entitlement and seniority. We've come to believe it is our due. We act as if someone actually owes us a living. Part of this change is due to the dramatic rise of conformity in our society. We are taught to conform. Incredible pressures are put on us each day to do the things, quote unquote, the right way. And yet no one asks the question, is this really the right way? A man once said, "I'm just a collection of mirrors reflecting what everyone expects of me." We live our lives to please everyone around us, and the scary thing is, the people around us are doing the very same thing. Psychologist Rollo May calls us outer-directed people. We don't act, we only react. We seek not to be outstanding, but to fit in. We are able to respond, but not to choose. Perhaps a wise man said, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." In order to change, we need to become inner-directed people. People with our own purpose, people who are not easily swayed by the opinions of others. And that's difficult because from a very early age, we look to the opinion of others to orient ourselves, to validate our decisions and our actions. Nietzsche said, "We need more strong people in this world because the weak by their sheer mass are forcing weak ideals and weak values on us all." Today's massive social and economic challenges are waking this slumbering giant. Some people may not be ready right now for the changes happening in today's world. It doesn't matter if they're ready or not. An old proverb says, if a man wants his dreams to come true, he must first wake up. I, for one, am glad the radical changes in our society, because I believe within this crisis, we will find that independent spirit that pioneered this great country. Some of us are finally ready for change. The displacement of the workforce has forced many of us to start searching for something better. Building families, careers, businesses, and services may be our goal. Chasing our dreams and holding on to our vision is what builds and enriches lives to their true fulfillment. It's a vision that built this great country, and inside that vision, we see the results of these great minds before us. What we are becoming in the pursuit of that goal is a larger and much more important issue. The rekindling of our independent spirit has more long-lasting value, and it's time we awaken from within. We as a society have fallen asleep. There's no more noble mission than awakening others to their true potential and the development of people. Every living organism has one and only one central need in life: to fulfill its own potential. The apple seed becomes an apple tree. The kitten becomes a popular cat on a video that goes viral on social media. That's what's required of the apple tree and the cat. But as intelligent human beings, the task is much more challenging. But within that task, we develop skills. Skills that are like building blocks for that virtual vision each of us choose to hold within our minds. The reason is unlike any other living creature on this planet. You have been given the dignity of choice. You'll not grow like a tree. You'll grow only as you plan and choose to grow. Planning and choice are key ingredients to achieving our true potential. When a person chooses to take action and live out their gift and dreams and fulfill their vision, two things happen. First, assuming personal responsibility for themselves takes on a whole new meaning. They accept responsibility not as something they've been saddled with, but something they themselves have chosen. The second thing that happens is that the discipline from the outside is replaced by self-discipline. They accept personal discipline not because it is commanded, but because they themselves have chosen what they want to do with their lives. Just like when the disenfranchised men and women over 246 years ago, they said, "I'm not going to live like this one more day." There's another revolution coming. Another revolution that's just coming from Americans and from people all around the world. It's coming from people who have been oppressed in meaningless jobs, people who have been unjustly held back, from people who have been slighted or ignored, people who have had their hopes crushed time and time again by the circumstances around them, from people who have been playing in the game where the rules are not the same for everyone, from people whose dreams have almost died by the methodical dripping of negative and pessimistic forces, people who have just been waiting for the right opportunity to present itself, an opportunity that they could hold on to, believe in a movement where people believed in them. I hear the rumbling of this coming revolution every day. The old rules are changing. Our society is finally ready for this change. Will people try to persuade you not to rise up? Oh, yes, they will. And sometimes with the best of intentions. But we must push back from anyone or anything that tries to influence us against our freedom of personal choice. And they'll try. Believe me, they'll try. They'll try to suggest you off course, to nudge you off course, to distract you off course. There's another revolution coming, and it's going to be led by a group of unique and courageous people like you. People who have had it with the way things are and the path they have chosen or ended up on due to circumstances outside of their control. People who have chosen the road less traveled in life and said, "I'm taking the road and I'm not changing course." If someone tells you you can't make it, it's too far, too long, too hard, you're too old, too young, you don't have any experience, you tell them, "I'm taking the road less traveled." If your neighbor comes and tells you to choose another path, that one's too rocky, what are you going to tell them? "I'll help you with the hard ones. I'm taking the rocky road." If someone tells you, "Let's go over here, that one's not so steep, so and has too many hills," what are you going to tell them? "I like the hills and I like the views. I'm taking the road less traveled." If someone says the road less traveled, what are you going to tell them? "I'm taking the road less traveled and I'm not turning back." If your friends say, "Come on, that one's too slippery, let's walk down that one," what are you going to tell them? "I'm going down that road, the road less traveled, and I'm not turning back." If anyone tells you it's too rocky, too steep, too slippery, you say, "Listen here, I've chosen my walk and I'm not turning back. You'll either see me waving at the end or dead on the side, but I'm not turning back." There's something about the do or die attitude. It's almost like when someone has a do or die attitude, time, fate, and circumstance get together, have a hasty conference and say, "Well, they say they're going to do it, So they're going to do it or die, so might as well let them. You see, the people of this country are special. The people of this magnificent world are special. You are special because there is only one you. One you that was given the gift of choice, the gift of desire, the gift of a powerful intelligence deep within each of us. You've already said that you're not going to conform to negative pressures around you. You've all said, enough, I'm not going to live like this anymore. You're all the people who want to set big goals and aspirations for yourselves and your families. People who want to live in a country where families are brought together rather than being torn apart. People who want a country who, once again, owning your own business and controlling your own destiny is commonplace. People who want a country where every man, woman, and child is treated with equal respect and dignity. People who will pay any price so their families are not living with a legacy of higher education debt for an overvalued product, high taxes for services that falsely enrich the lives of a few, rather than encouraging the few to reach from within to discover their gift to fulfill their dreams. For the single parents and families who are dependent on government subsidies to shelter their young, rather than encouraging them that they too can have a place called home. Where our children are reliant on our schools not just to educate, but feed our children's tummies, not just their brilliant young minds. And lastly, the continual unfulfilled promises. The spirit of the student who struggles, where we as a body lift our fellow students up from their fears or failures. The spirit that cares for our elderly in honor of their life. I hold a vision that will allow us to all to fulfill our own true potential. A body of people who will answer the calling from within, a calling where so many brilliant minds have held back that true potential. To care for one another as brothers and sisters in support of their families' dreams. And together we will restore the slumbering giant from within. Let us join together in this quest as we lead this revolution to a renewing of the spirit of the dreamer. The spirit of unity always perseveres together. Today we stand at the genesis of a new revolution, and people like you are going to lead it. Theodore Roosevelt said these words more than 100 years ago. I think they're appropriate for today. He said, we see across the dangers of the great future, and we rejoice as the giant refreshed. The great victories are yet to be won. The greatest deeds are yet to be done. This precious gift within us is within us all. I love you all and thank you for taking time to listen and share this message. This message to the family of all humanity across this great, magnificent earth that our mighty God created. My name is Troy Thomas Joseph Fitch. This is just another lesson from your 1980 high school dropout. Thank you for taking time to listen to this message, and I hope you'll share it with your friends and family. God bless you.